In this section, or in this video, we're going to talk about one more quadratic application problem. And this is one where they give us the equation. There are several different things in real life that are modeled or can be modeled with quadratic. They're giving the example here of punted football, but a baseball, a golf ball, shooting a basketball, kicking a soccer ball, rockets, like toy rockets that are launched up, things like that, where it's going to follow that parabola or that rounded quadratic shape, are all going to be modeled by this. Now, for this one, we've got that the height of a punted football in feet can be modeled by the equation negative 0.01x squared plus 1.18x plus 2. And so they ask us to find a couple of things here. And it says that x here represents the horizontal distance in feet from the point of impact with the kicker's foot. So we have the first thing they want is the maximum height of the punt and how far from the point of impact does this occur. Now, since it's talking about a maximum, that's going to be a vertex. So we will use our vertex formula for that, our negative b over 2a, f of negative b over 2a. And for that, we'll actually find how far it occurs, since we're finding x first, and they indicated that that was the horizontal distance. And then when we plug it into the equation, we will find the height. And then the second thing it asks for, it says if the ball is not blocked by the defensive player, how far down the field will it go before hitting the ground? So if they're wanting to know when it's going to hit the ground, they are using the x-axis here as ground level. So they're going to want us to find our x-intercept. So we're going to be using a quadratic formula for that one. Okay, so I've got our equation written down here. And so the first thing that we're going to find is our vertex. So we're going to do negative b over 2a. So it's going to be negative 1.18 divided by 2 times negative 0.01. Negative 1.18 divided by negative 0.02. The negatives are going to cancel off to make it positive. Bumping both decimals, we've got 118 divided by 2, which is 59. So this is 59 feet from our kicker. So we actually answered kind of the second part of that first chunk first. And so then we're going to plug this in. We're going to plug in 59 for x in all of our locations here. So 59 squared is 3,481. And 1.18 times 59 is 69.62. And we've still got our plus 2 back on the back. Doing this multiplication here, I've got negative 34.81. And then 69.62 plus 2 is 71.62. And then adding those two together, I'm going to get 36.81. And again, that was in feet. And this will be high. So the football went 36.81 feet high into the air. Now, that answer is kind of on part A. So now for part B, they wanted to know when would it hit the ground. So we're going to do our quadratic formula. So reminder, negative b plus or minus b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So we've got negative 1.18 plus minus square root 1.18 squared minus 4 times negative 0.01 times 2 all over 2 times negative 0.01. So cleaning this up just a bit. 1.18 squared is 1.3924. Negative is going to make positive. So I'm at 4 times 0.01 times 2 is going to be 0.08 over negative 0.02. Combining the stuff underneath, you get 1.4724 over negative 0.02. And now I'm going to separate these. So I've got negative 1.18, or sorry, I'm going to do the square root. So this is now plus or minus 1.2134 divided by negative 0.02. Okay. And now we're gonna split that. So I've got negative 1.18 plus 1.2134, 0.02, and negative 1.18 minus 1.2134 over negative 0.02. For this one, when we do the addition and the divide, we get negative 1.67. We'll discuss that one here in just a second. And then when I do the subtract, I get 119.67. Now, this is one of those things when in the last video when we talked about application stuff, I said, make sure you're watching your units. Remember that this is being done in feet. So when I first see this number, my brain automatically thinks about a football field, but I think in terms of yards because that's the traditional measurement on a football field. So 119, if I'm thinking this is in yards, I'm like, oh my goodness, this kicker is kicking this like up into the stands. Like what's going on? But if we remember that this is in feet, okay, and if we were to convert this, this is roughly 120 feet, which would be about 40 yards, which makes a little more sense for a punted football if you're familiar with it. So now, the question though is about this negative one. So let's draw a pretty little picture up here, okay? You get stick figure Bob here from me. Okay, now what you have to realize here is they are putting the y-axis right here. And so what's happening is our 119 answer is this one right down here. But if we were to track this parabola back, we would actually have a spot back over here that is on the negative side. Again, when they gave us the formula up here, or the equation for us, it's just a quadratic. And running our quadratic formula on it, it just tells us where it intersects the x-axis, not necessarily in our real life scenario. So this would have been that the punted football was already up in the air when it contacted our kicker's foot. So it actually started here and then went up and over to here. This purple part is the only part that really applied to our situation. This was just an extraneous one that pulled it back, and that's that negative 1.67 one.